Welcome everyone to tonight's select board meeting. We have a full board here tonight. I'm Sabrina Dunlap. We have Stephen Whitley, Ken Trum, Tom Sampoma, and Jeff Donahoe. So thank you all for being here with us tonight. And the first thing on our agenda is points of pride.
Sure. I'm going to share. Maybe. So I don't know if you noticed outside, but those are our columns, which are standing, which is good. They were on kind of teetering boxes. And I just want to thank Dan Couture, who is our buildings and grounds person, who's been doing lots of different things. He's in the process right now of building the boxes that go back around them. But rather than just put them back the way they were, he added the cement block, which gets all the wood up out of the water, the pressure treated and sort of done. It's not quite as impressive as the barn, but it definitely is good. So by the next meeting, for sure, by the end of this week, the boxes will be back and everything will be back to normal. So I just wanted to note that and thank him for that.
So is that it from you?
That's
All right.
it for that.
I guess I just wanted to thank the DPW and Dan that on the Sunday when there was all the storms, they were out doing everything they could to keep the roads passable.
Yeah. I echo that.
I'll just note that they are still working on the back roof. The
Okay.
roof is getting replaced and it's not
Exciting.
anything like it was most of the day, but you may hear noise.
All right. We will move on to administrative. First up is approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda of July 24, 2023.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Next is approval of the public meeting minutes from July 10th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. We have three non-publics to approve. First is non-public meeting minutes from July 10th, 2023, session 1.
I'll move and note those are sealed.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, non-public meeting minutes from July 10th, 2023, session 2.
I'll move and note they are not sealed.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Finally, approval of non-public meeting minutes from July 10th, 2023, session 3.
Again, I'll move and note they are not sealed.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, we have our public appointment, which is swearing in of police officer Jeffrey Erickson.
Thank you. So our newest hire is Officer Jeffrey Erickson. He grew up in town, so he knows the town very well. He's a great addition to our PD. He's in the military reserves with the Marines, and he starts the academy a week from today. So he's got a lot on his plate, but he's doing very well, and we're very happy to have him on board. You want to come up here? Or?
And I forgot to dress more formally. Right, I believe we hold up our hand. All right, so you just have to repeat after me and I'll try to space this out so it's not too difficult. Okay. I, Jeffrey Erickson,
I, Jeffrey Erickson,
do solemnly and sincerely
do solemnly and sincerely
swear and affirm
swear and affirm
that I will bear faith
that I will bear faith
and true allegiance
and true allegiance
to the United States of America
to the United States of America
and the state of New Hampshire,
and the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Jeffrey Erickson,
I, Jeffrey Erickson,
do solemnly and sincerely
do solemnly and sincerely
swear that I will faithfully
swear that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties
all the duties
incumbent upon me
incumbent upon me
as a patrol officer,
as a patrol officer,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules
agreeably to the rules
and regulation of this Constitution
agreeably
and regulation of this
and
Constitution
regulation of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to-
Thanks for being here.
Right, so I was gonna say, I see.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
I got confused as to what side I was looking at. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Congratulations. Thank you.
See you all the time.
Everybody left us.
Expected.
All right, congratulations to Officer Erickson. Next we have old business, Community Power Committee charge update.
So this is based on the discussion last time. To, instead of having just 8 straight members, have the one person be the select board. And we actually had somebody who left, so I actually moved it to 6 and 1. Given that, so those are the 2 changes that were proposed last time.
Just to expand upon what Neil had said, at the, where the anticipation was everybody on the Energy Committee was also going to be on the Community Power Committee. One member decided he didn't have the time to be on both. And it was very timely because to have a quorum in person with 8 people, you need 5. And we were having problems getting 5 people in person during vacation time because an individual on the phone does not count. But so I'll move we approve the slightly revised Community Power Committee charge.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous.
Do we need to appoint a board member to sit on that committee?
Yes.
Would now be an appropriate time to do that?
Nominate Steve.
Very funny. Would you accept a nomination to be on that committee?
Sure.
Okay. I nominate Ken Tram to be the select board representative on Community Power Committee.
Okay,
Second.
all right, any discussion? Okay.
As I made clear to the committee, I don't want to be the chair of the committee. I'd rather be more of a liaison with the
Mhm.
select board if possible.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, aye. That's unanimous. Okay, next up is dilapidated building update.
Sure, just to keep you updated, I've been emailing with Mr. Irwin, and he is working to get the demolition company in on the building on Highland Ave. It's not on Prospect, it's just below Prospect. So we'll keep you updated each meeting, but hopefully that contract is signed and done.
Excellent. And last under old business is the barn update.
Sure. If you've been past the barn, the footings were put in last week and the forms are up today, and tomorrow will be the pouring of the foundation. The Celestial Center knows the parking lot will be closed while they're doing that, so they can get in from all different directions. It was pretty amazing. I should have brought pictures of that. It was pretty amazing how long the sort of chute from the cement truck comes to fill that when they're doing such a big thing. Everything seems to be going just as planned. There was some ledge that had to come out, so there was a little bit of added costs there. And I don't have the final figure on that, but it's in the under 6,000 range. Oh, I keep thinking it's the microphone. It's the roofers. So far it seems to be right on schedule and going very well. The structural engineer has been in and out and checking things. We received, as well as the building department received back the sample, the corings from the cement, which they test. So far so good.
All right, great. Next is new business. First up, we have the Dustin Music Fund request.
So this is the request you were expecting. So included in there is have the request, and I can put up the amount that's in there. Just so you can see that. So that was the value at the end of last year, what's been expended and what's been expended through the years. So far this year, approved was the $500 for the recreation concert, which is coming up this week, and the 2022 Chamber Comp. So the remaining balance after those is $24,657.
We didn't have any
Okay.
expenditures in 2021 or 2022.
We did not. There was no request for 2021, and the 2022 request was it's listed, it came in 2023 and it's listed in 2023.
This is 2023 year-to-date approved.
Mhm.
2975. Oh, is that because that adds in the,
That's from
2022.
I see.
the approved
Okay.
expenditure.
Gotcha.
That's the two.
And we only have the income values for last year. That's the 1606.
Yes.
So we've already spent some of the principal.
The original principal, yes. It's below the original gift was 25,000.
well, I know we spent a lot of time talking about updating the policy and debating whether or not we should just spend interest or principal. And I think I was the only person, maybe Thomas was okay with it too, in terms of spending some of the principal. Because I think the whole point of this fund is to fund concerts. So I would be in favor of approving what was requested.
I'm 100% opposed to approving what was requested.
Okay. Do you want to say more about that?
Well, you're supposed to be financial stewards of the town. And, I had a problem when we paid the $24.75 to them at the beginning of this year for something they didn't get pre-approval for. And now we're paying the price for it. We're into the principle of the trust already. And again, as financial stewards for the town, I disagree with that.
But I guess like a basic question is, then what's the point? Like if you have 24 you know, more than 24 grand sitting there. If we're not going to fund something like this, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 concerts that are really well attended. I don't know. I don't quite understand. I don't think it's irresponsible personally. It's not like we're draining it.
How much is the total request for this year?
The request is $2,900.
Okay, so in 7 or 8 years, it would be drained.
So I think the total amount, it's in kind of a weird spot because like, yeah, we're below the principal, but also we could have been below the principal on the first year because that could have been over because we didn't have a policy in place. So I don't necessarily think that we're below the principal because we approved the last one. So it's
We
like,
approved, Thomas, come on, we approved something that wasn't requested in
no, I know, but
advance.
that doesn't matter. Whether or not. it's
Well, it does
requested-
matter.
No.
That's how we got here. We're
Whether-
below,
Whether or not.
we
it's
spent
no.
principal.
Whether or not it's requested in advance does not change whether or not it goes above or below the principal. The dollar value depends on whether or not it goes above or below the principal. What I'm trying to say is there's 2 missing gap years. There's an extra large payment that happened because of whatever happened. And we need to get back into a more balanced state. And so I'm seeing a average income of around $1,500 to $1,600 per year coming in. And if we look at what we approved this year so far, over the last 3 years, we're averaging up to $950. So I think that the total amount that they're asking for now is definitely too much. Like that's definitely too much. But it doesn't mean that there's not anything available there that we can't use that would then get us back to an average over the last one.
Thomas, are you then suggesting that instead of giving the chamber the 2,900, they're requesting giving them a lower number?
Yes,
And what's the number? you're
unless
thinking?
we think that there's other ones that are gonna come in this year. But I would propose something in the order of like $500 to $700. Because I think that would then be an amount that would then, if you look at all of the expenditures, all the approvals of the last 5 years, come to a balanced amount that would be relatively even across those years.
I don't support giving them the entirety of their request. But I do think there's room to give them something this year. And I also think that, you know, we have this new policy that's going to be in effect beginning in 2024. And we need to start weaning them off of the impression that, you know, we will grant approval to 1/2 of whatever they contract for each year. Even though that's not explicitly stated, I mean, that's my sort of sense of the intent of the policy is to be more mindful of preserving the principle going forward. And I would, of the amounts that Thomas kicked around, I mean, I would support either one of those, actually.
I might even actually say lower. I'd almost argue for lower.
It's, in my opinion, it's imprudent to spend 12% of the principal this year.
So Jeff, do you, would you be supportive of, I think Thomas's
My
500?
preference is 0.
Wait, so that. Because you're saying the problem is that then if we do approve anything, we're now starting to get significantly below as opposed to just being.
12%, yeah.
And to me, this is sort of a gap year or years as we transition into when we have a more formal policy in place. And looking at, you know, the year over year and taking into account those 2 years where COVID really impacted what was put on. You know, I do think there's some room to provide something this year, but not nearly on the magnitude that they've asked for.
I'm in agreement with giving them something, and if you wanted to propose 500, I could support that.
Yeah, I would just point out that it does specifically say when they establish the trust that we would spend principal at our discretion so that we could fund concerts for the enjoyment of the general public. So I don't see it as irresponsible dipping into the principal, but obviously we don't agree. So I would support something over nothing.
I will make a motion to give them $500 from the trust.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, next under new business is year-to-date revenue / expenses.
Sure, those were sent out. There's no significance to it being yellow, except somebody left yellow copy paper in the copier. I was going to do a whole write-up because we're at 6 months, but there really isn't much to warrant that we really are right where we expect to be. The things that are a little off in revenue are all to the good side. I'll note, interest on investments is running way ahead. That's our checking account interest, and that should in the second half of the year, that should significantly go up because of the changes with the additional funds going to the Citizens Bank account that was approved. So in revenue, unless there's questions, we're really good place.
And
No surprises.
one question I had, Neil, was payments in lieu of taxes. Do you expect any change there? Because it's only 7% of the collection.
Yeah, they've all been billed. They're due in. They'll be in.
Okay,
They might even be all in now, but they weren't in by the end of June.
okay.
There's been a lot of the land use change tax so far.
Yes, and timber tax, and often it seems like those two, if one is over, the other one is under, and they balance each other out. But this year, we're definitely quite a bit over on land use change, and we will definitely be over on yield or timber tax. So that's revenue. On the expense side, it's largely the same things. I'll just note that, as I generally do, that the cemetery contractor gets paid and it shows as an expenditure, but those actually are reimbursed from the trust funds. I'll note, because Alicia keeps noting that welfare expenses are running really low. And that's, yes, a good thing. We think largely that it's because of the high cost of rent and the lack of available housing that people have left town for the most part. It seems to be that way. So that's running low. And with the bonds that show percentages are up, that's all timing, and those will come in where they're supposed to. But other than that, everything seems to be running right on where it should be.
What's the health agencies and hospitals?
Health agency and hospitals is CAP, and that's a
Oh.
yearly donation to CAP that's been done, and the whole donation has been paid.
Under general government buildings, the electricity for the Bates building is already 219% of budget. Is that just that we budgeted incorrectly, or?
No, I think actually there's a highway bill in there that will get pulled out.
Okay.
1 month of the highway garage is as much as the year of the Bates
Okay,
building.
okay, good.
Good answer.
And for solid waste cleanup, professional services at the lagoons, nothing has been spent yet. Is that just a timing thing?
Yeah, they haven't billed for that.
Okay.
We anticipate that will be spent.
And were you going to talk about the new bond and your updates?
Yes,
Okay. That's all I had then.
which I guess is next. So if there's no
Okay.
questions, I'll go right into talking about the bond. So the bond sale happened. It's an effective rate of 2.99%, which is good. We had used 5% for the budgeting. And because of the way the bond works with the buyback, and I'm not really a bond expert, but it looks in the paperwork like it's a 5% rate, but we're receiving $2 million and bonding 1.8 million. So that's
That explains.
that's
my
where the
question.
difference is.
Okay.
So the real rate is 2.99, which seems better than we thought it might be. It's good. The 10-year rate was the best of all the different, whether 5 or 20 or 30, but that was the best rate of all of them. So that was a good thing. And that the final paperwork is there to be signed tonight, and then we should have the funds. We are scheduled on Briar Hill, and it really depends on the contractor. The hope had been to start this fall, but it's probably will be a first thing next spring, given the weather and where the contractor's at.
So Neil, will we be getting the cash in advance of when we have to spend it?
Yes,
And so we're in effect putting that into some kind of an interest bearing account.
yes,
We getting more than 2.99?
we're getting 5.
So we're making money on it.
No, we don't really make money because it potentially could be taxable if we were making money, but yes.
Okay, excuse my wording.
We probably qualify under federal law to earn a little extra,
Mhm.
and then probably qualify to spend that extra little bit that we earn, because we're only borrowing less than $5 million in a calendar year. It's tax exempt.
Oh, okay, well, thank you.
Not that you're giving legal advice.
What's that?
Not that you're giving legal advice.
Not giving legal advice. I'm just telling the state of the law.
I think you've heard that question before. Oh, I mentioned that the cash transferred in to citizens with the credit card. We're moving forward, getting done the wetlands permit for the rail trail crossing out to Kearsarge. That's all starting to come together. The environmental paperwork has been done on the sewer solar project. Also for sewer, Sam has been working part-time for us, keeping things going. I met with a contractor and we've advertised the position. The deadline is this Friday, I believe. So that is doing okay now, but hopefully we'll have a permanent solution very, very quickly. And
Do we have any
then
applicants yet so far?
do not yet. There's some potential. I will add, speaking of applicants, I know Dan Blanchett was interviewing someone at 5 tonight, and while we were standing here, he called the police chief to arrange for the fingerprints and all of that. So that is positive. He was going to text me so I could tell you, but he didn't, but I'll assume that that's the case. So that would leave us with one full-time position down at the DPW, the buildings and grounds. So this would fill the heavy equipment operator, which is excellent. And vacation for me begins on Wednesday, it goes through next week.
Nice. All right. Is that it for administrator updates?
That is it.
Okay. Next we have public forum. I don't know if we have anyone online or anyone in the room who wishes to speak. Now is your chance. And come on up so we can pick you up on the mic.
Thank you.
Swearing in.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on the meeting that most of you were at with the Board of Selectmen in Webster. It's a difficult issue. It has been from the start with the pay by bag program, but I just wanted to commend all of you for representing Hopkinton effectively and diplomatically, and I thought you all did a really great job, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I was similarly impressed that the only members of the public that were there were Hopkinton residents.
Yes, thank you for being there. Anyone else for public comment? Hi.
Interest rate conversations put me in mind of our PFAS situation. And I was wondering if there was any updates I could ask for, mostly just as a citizen at this point, about whether or not we're moving forward with combining the projects, and whether or not we have a more clear idea of how much that would cost. Those are my two first questions.
So the first one is yes, DS has given verbal approval to combining the two projects, and Novus and Hazen, two engineering firms that work on those two projects, are working together. So I don't really have any good costs, but we will have those by the end of the summer. They are working on those. But the good news is, yes, the projects can be combined.
Nice. So at the town meeting last year, the Briar Hill conversation led to a question of, well, what if we just pay for it now? And that's kind of how I feel in my heart about the PFAS. And so we were going to come upon a 10% threshold that would null that question about, well, why don't we just pay for it now? Because everything had already gone through budget committee approval. So what, and this is an open-ended question. What would it take to describe months before town meeting two paths? If we have all the information, if we feel confident that we would want to pay for it next year, because it's too late, right? At the point of town meeting, even if the warrant articles were approved for a loan, if the town decided, well, geez, that doesn't sound like what we would like, we could not put a significant amount into the operating budget because it would cross that threshold. So during our conversations, how can we look at it from both sides? That's it.
Thank you.
I think it's an issue that we will be weighing as we get further into the process. And that's really all I could say now.
And we could certainly provide impacts, fully paying or not. And I think I'm correct that a warrant article for a bond could be amended to fully raise those funds, as it doesn't affect the 10% because the bond is already included in the 10%. So you could, even if the warrant article was for like this past year, a $2 million bond, you could amend that to raise and appropriate that from taxation.
But were you talking about putting it into the operating budget to pay for it, not bonding it? Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily need to go in the operating budget too, right? It could be a special warrant.
It would be a special warrant article, but you could change the bond
You can go to taxation, yeah.
to taxation.
But if it's a separate warrant article, there's a no means no concern. And
Wait, sorry, did you say you can change a special warrant article that is a bond into taxation? Does it still require three?
No.
Can you go the other way? Can you change something that is taxation into?
No, because you wouldn't have had all the public hearings and all the requirements leading up to it.
Got it. And we're looking for grants for that project as well, right? That's
Yes.
ongoing?
Yeah. There aren't. There's lots of DES grants, but they're for very specific things. But there is a PFAS fund, so we're working on that one and any that we can get.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Vicky. All right, anyone else, public forum? Okay, next we have other. Does anyone have anything for other?
Just, I don't know, Neil, if you had a chance to look into whether it was feasible or made sense to put a handicap accessible parking spot at by the gazebo.
Sort of. It depends where you're trying to go. There's not an obvious spot, but if it's directly for the gazebo, we certainly could do that in one of those spaces. The closest space to where the sidewalk begins.
Yeah, you'd certainly want it accessible, so you don't have to go, person wouldn't have to go up a curb.
Right. But all the sidewalks are accessible that are in there.
Yeah, is there, I forget, is there a portion of the curb that's not there to allow for? Okay,
To get to the gazebo from that side.
okay.
And believe it or not, there is no sidewalk from the parking lot to Main Street.
Right.
That's right.
Never.
Yeah.
has.
That's right.
I'm not sure why, but
Just a question we'd gotten, well, I had gotten, I assume everybody on the board had received an email about if we could do anything with regards to Gommels and water in Warner and flowing into the Warner
Yeah.
and to the Warner River. You know, obviously we can't do anything on Gommel's property, but could we, I don't know, send a letter to DES or something? Is there anything that we could do?
I guess I would wonder what would the letter say? I mean, I say that because it feels like more of a state issue if there's harm being done to the river than like a town specific issue. Unless, I don't know, I could be missing something, but
Or if we just indicated that a resident has raised this concern with us and we're passing it on?
yeah,
who do you send it to? DS?
right.
They could,
Guessing that would be the appropriate,
they could call
recipient.
DES.
yeah, that
And
same
go.
person could just lodge the same complaint directly with DES.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
raising the question.
I guess, I mean, does it raise a local issue from a health perspective that we might have some jurisdiction over? And I don't know that it does, but again,
I think it flows the other way.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any health issue, especially in another town, that we would have any authority over.
Okay.
All right, anything else other? Okay, we have, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 non-publics tonight. So we will vote to go into non-public and then afterwards we will adjourn and not conduct any other business. So thank you everyone for being here tonight with us. I'll move that we go into non-public under RSA 91A32D.
Thanks, Scott.
A, C, we have multiple Ds. There's 4 non-publics under D, which is sale or lease of property. And A and C.
I'll second all of those.
Okay, it's a roll call vote. Stephen,
yes.
Ken,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thomas?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we will